everyone, welcome back. So now, as you can see, we have a guest. We have brought Bob in so that he can give us a fresh perspective on the topic of money and teens and young adults. Yeah, so just to bring you up to speed, Bob, with what we talked about.
Okay.
So first we talked about our relationship with money, and we got to answer for each and every one of us what type of relationship we have with money.
Is it a love affair, or is it a crush, or is it a commitment?
Well, some of us have healthy relationships.
And what's a toxic relationship?
Please explain what your toxic relationship
What's a toxic relationship?
Sometimes we're together, sometimes we're not.
It's a business relationship.
Business, gotcha.
Yes, and then some had, Sonia, what was your
Long distance.
long distance. Others had long distance relationships.
It's always out of your reach.
Yeah, it's like they're never available, and when they are, it's just short-lived.
Okay.
And then some had no relationship at all. So there was no relationship whatsoever at that point. This was a very good relationship, right? He had a very good relationship with his money. So my question would be to you, what has your relationship with money been for you?
What has my relationship with money been?
Yes.
Well, okay. Well, when I was in college, I didn't really have any money. All of my money went to pay university fees. My parents paid the majority of it, but the little money that I did save up went to pay the difference or the balance. I went straight into full-time Christian work, and so I had to what was called raise support. So I would go to people and say, would you support me $50 a month? Would you support me $100 a month so I can do work for the kingdom overseas? And I got about, I think my goal originally was $900 a month to start off with, and that was back in 1980.
Wow.
And so I got that amount of money. I finished my time in Libya. I came back and was working. Then I only had $500 a month. And I was living out of the office of the organization that I had helped start, a group called Frontiers. And I would take steps of faith. I mean, I would travel, get in a van and travel to like one area of the United States for 3 months, trusting that God would raise up enough money for gas and for food. And he always seemed to provide. I never got stranded. But when I met Debbie, I knew I needed to take care of my wife and take care of a family. So we went from $500 a month to $2,500 a month of support, which for me, I thought, oh my gosh, that is so much money. And I thought, that's just ridiculous. But we raised that up, and I found out it didn't go very far because I had never paid rent. I had never paid insurance. I had never paid a lot of things. And so it just slowly began to build and build and build over time. My relationship with money now is I do have steady supporters, people who send in money. I still live off of faith. People send in money to my account, and that's how I survive. But I have a steady paycheck. A lot of them send in support because they have seen my faithfulness in ministry. And because they've seen that faithfulness and because they've heard my message and it's had an impact in their lives, many would say it's changed their lives entirely, that frees them up to send $100 a month. I think the lowest I have is $25 a month, and the highest I have is $500 a month of people that send in money. And that's how I live, that's how I survive. So I have a steady paycheck. I could get more if I wanted. I don't. I'm happy with where I am. But in relationship to money in general, I think it's very healthy for teens on up to take a general finance course and to learn about debt, how it works, how to borrow money, why it's good, why it's bad, when to borrow money. I have only borrowed money for purchasing a house. That's the only thing I've borrowed money for, because the house appreciates. Understand, appreciates? Over the years, it becomes more and more valuable. So I bought my house back in, the current house I'm in, back in 24 years ago, whatever that was, 1998, for $300,000. And now it's worth about $700,000. But the interest that I've paid on it doesn't come anywhere close. I have made much more when I sell, but I'm not selling, so I'm just paying off. The bank basically owns the house. I don't own it. But in about 2 years, Debbie and I will make our final payment, and then we will own the house clear, which very few Americans do. Most Americans, the bank owns the house or co-owns the house. But one of the things that's really helped us was having a budget. And so we have X amount of money for food, X amount of money for clothing, X amount of money for car maintenance, X amount of money set aside every month for a new car eventually, X amount of money set aside for insurance, and the list just goes on and on. We save for Christmas. Every month we set aside money for Christmas so that when Christmas comes, it's not like, oh, where do we get money for our kids? No, it's already there, already planned for it. So nothing really takes us by surprise. Companies come and fill up our oil tanks so we can heat our home twice a year, but that's like $800 now each year, so that's $1,600. So we save about $250 every month so that when that bill comes, we have the money. It's paid. And so one of the things that we did here in Kenya is we brought in a team that taught finances. And that was actually all recorded, and it's all been translated into Swahili. You can get that anytime you want. And as a young person, you can listen how to budget. What I found for most Kenyans, if I open my wallet and there's money, and someone asks me for money, I should give it to them. But then my money goes out, and I have no school fees for my kids. I have no money for food. And so we began to teach them, one of your categories is giving. And if you get $100, if you want, you set aside $10. Forgive me for using the dollars, but you set aside $10 for giving. And so if someone says, I have a need for $5, yeah, here's $5. Someone has a need for $8, you say, I'm sorry, I can give you $5, but no more. And someone else comes along and says, I need 10. You say, I'm sorry, I have nothing left in my giving fund, even though you may have $80 in your wallet. But that's all specified for something else. I don't give that away as giving. And that was one of the biggest things I think that they found helpful at the Kenyan finance course that we taught. And another thing that they found was being faithful in the little. We found out that one of the mindsets of Africans is, hey, Muzungus have ripped us off for centuries. It's time for us to rip them off. And so you want a taxi? Sure, you go to the taxi driver. How much is it to get from here to there? Oh, it's $20 US. Write it for 25. So he writes the receipt for 25. He gives the Muzungu the receipt. He gives him 25. He gives the taxi 20, and he makes 5. And he says, that's perfectly fine. That's the way we do it in Africa. But what they began to realize was, as God is looking at it, God is not seeing faithfulness, and so when he's looking for business partners for all of eternity to rule and reign, what's he going to say about that person? Caleb?
Not good and faithful something.
That's not the kind of guy I want to run my business. How do I know he won't do that to me?
True.
And so they began to realize, I've got to be faithful in everything. When we first worked here in Kenya, we had people that we trusted money with, but I had thousands of dollars stolen from me. Thousands of dollars stolen. And so we began to meet other people under that ministry, and we began to trust them, and we began to say, we took them through the finance ministry, we took them through our teaching, but we said, we want receipts for everything. And they began to send. Yes, like David just brought me the receipts for the pizza, brought me the receipts for the Pepsi. We always ask for receipts, and if we keep getting back those receipts, this person's faithful. We can trust them with more money. We can trust them with other odds. So basic scriptural principles that the Bible teaches about. God says to the rich, and God gave you that money to enjoy. So enjoy it. Don't think it's only going to be, you can't enjoy it. Feel free to enjoy it. But it's also use it for, he says, building a foundation for your future. And a foundation, when you think about that, a foundation, what do you do with a foundation? You have a foundation of a building, what are you going to do with it? You're going to build up from it. And so when God says, build your foundation for eternity future, what does that probably insinuate? will be building on that foundation in eternity future. Some people are going to have a small foundation, and some people are going to have a big foundation. So God says, what kind of a foundation? How do you want to use your money? And it's not so much how much money did you give. Millionaires give, billionaires give millions of dollars away. But I think it's the percentage that God is impressed with. If you remember the widow's mite, why was Jesus so impressed? She gave away 100% of what she had. Bill Gates, if you know that name, one of the richest men in the world, he may be giving away 20%. Well, the widow who gave away her one shilling, she's going to get more reward in heaven because of her faithfulness in that area. So it's a combination of, I have money set aside for Bob. It's Bob money. It's not Debbie money. It's not the household money. It's just Bob money. I use it any way I want. But we have much more money set aside for tithing, for giving. And so there are times when I buy things for myself, and I'm perfectly fine with that. And Debbie the same. But more of our money is geared toward God's kingdom, getting it out and helping people and doing it that way. So I don't know if that helps at all or not.
It helps a lot.
It helps.
It helps a lot.
You've actually answered most of the follow-up questions, because the next question is going to deal with debt, and you've just said that the only time you found yourself borrowing money was when you had to buy a house, to get your house.
Something that would appreciate, yes.
Yes. So I think in terms of debt, I would say it's not wise for us to pick loans, especially at a young age. It would not be wise for us to do loans right now. And also,
you start taking loans now, you will forever be getting yourself in debt.
Yes.
And you'll never get out. It's a bottomless pit, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Constantly, it's just more and more and more and more that there'll be,
Yes.
you got to borrow money to pay off money you borrowed.
Constantly.
And then it's
Every
just
time, so you never
Yeah.
have money for yourself.
And one of the biggest things that we did for the people in that financial seminar, we said, okay, for 30 days, make a budget. Find out where you're spending your money. And so King David here was in that, and he realized, man, I'm spending my money on such trivial stuff. I bought a ball for the kids, and I thought, wait, why am I doing that? And so we began to finally make a budget. Okay, this is how much I need for a budget to meet all. And so I'm going to trust God for that every month. If I get more, okay, then I can put away toward more savings. But savings should always be a part of your budget somehow, some way, even if it's, 10 shillings. Let's just add little by little. You'd be surprised how it adds up over time. It does. It adds up over time. But and then if you have emergencies, you can use it.
Yeah, guys, so basically what we're saying is, when it comes to the topic of finances, you need serious discipline. You need to actually sit down, have a talk with yourself, have meetings with yourself, you and your many personalities if you have those. And you and Sharon 1, Sharon serious, Sharon so serious, you understand what I'm talking about. And you decide if this is what you're going to do with our money, this is what you're going to do with our money. Because as you can see, making good decisions in your younger ages when it comes to finances actually pays off. I am yet to see anyone who's fallen asleep and woken up rich. And it lasts, and it stays for, as in most, if you look at all these billionaires that you're seeing out there, they have certain disciplines that most of us don't have. And that's why we are struggling, especially the youth. We struggle so much with money and how to spend it and what we're spending it on. Yes. So any other thing anyone wants to add? Anything? What you've learned? Your take?
Yeah, let me just help you also with the mega rich that you watch on YouTube from Kenya. I saw them on Kenya, and I'm like, you may be mega rich now, but this is 1% of your existence. Enjoy it now, because when you get to heaven, it's gone. Better to give it away now. And that's why Jesus says, giving your money away so that your purses will not wear out. A purse that holds money, it will not wear out. If you're giving it away now, God's going to give it back to you so much more in heaven. But that takes faith. And that's, not easy, but it does take faith. But that's what Jesus teaches us. Give away, deny now, give it away now so you can gain it later. And that's why when the rich man said, hey, Jesus, what can I do to inherit the kingdom of God? And he listed all the things. The man said, I've done everything. He said, one thing you lack. Give your money to the poor. But he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. And so giving it away to the poor, Jesus says, you'll get it back 100-fold. When I held a meeting to try to teach on this to youth in the United States, I gave them all a dime. And they said, what do I have a dime for? And I said, this is to show you what Jesus wants to do. And I said, Jesus says, hey, if you give it away, I'll pay back 100-fold. So I said, you can either take that dime and spend it now, or give it to me and I'll give you a $10 bill. And that's what Jesus does. Give him a shilling, you're going to get 100 shillings back for all of eternity. And then, I asked them, okay, now you got a $10 bill, what are you going to do? You're going to go buy some food at, Burger King or McDonald's or Wendy's? You could. Or you could give it away, and what are you going to get in heaven? $10,000. What do you want to do? And they had to decide. But that's Jesus's math. He says, my math is very different. Your money could earn 1%, 2% in a bank, maybe 3% at best. Give it away, you've just earned 100%. Or actually, he says 10,000%. You earn it 100 times more. So anyhow, yeah, it's far better to give it away now. But don't give. But if you're for me, a husband and a father, you don't give it all away, so you don't have any money for the house or to pay for basic things. You got to take care of your family. But when you add that extra money after that, he says best to give it away for all of eternity.
I don't think there's much to add up to that. He's just wrapped it up with a bow and like, damn, you got it. So yeah.
So,
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
It was a
It was,
pleasure.
yeah, it was a pleasure. Hearing the wise words of Bob.
The old sage.
Yes. This is the Bob that Kyle keeps talking about.
Yes,
his
his friend Bob.
friend Bob.
My friend Kyle.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you next time.
All right.